Well, how reliable is the testimony that the ICC prosecutors have been investigating? Human rights groups have already begun to throw doubt on some earlier allegations that, for example, Libyan troops were carrying out systematic rapes and were being prescribed the sex drug Viagra towards that end. Tom Hagler asked Arab specialist and journalist Nabila Ramdani if she thinks an arrest warrant should be issued.
First of all, I do wonder why the international community needs to make so much about compiling evidence against Gaddafi. Surely, if evidence was so important, then it should have been presented before they started bombing Libya, before the UN and then NATO got involved militarily in Libya. Going on about it at this late stage in the conflict makes it rather incongruous, in my opinion. But if they are going to go down the legal road, and it has to be applauded as it is a good thing, because that's how civilized society should deal with criminals like Gaddafi. I think Gaddafi should have been dealt with through the rule of law and due process. What seems odd is that they are combining this expression of belief in due process and a campaign of daily bombing, and indeed the support of rebels. So to me it does seem rather incongruous that the West has been bombing the life out of the Gaddafi regime for weeks and apparently getting very close to assassinating him.
So the International Criminal Court is far too compromised because it reflects those member states, the opinions of those member states.
Well, you do have to wonder why they have chosen this particular moment to launch legal proceedings against Gaddafi, especially when you consider that they could have chosen any time since 1969 when Gaddafi came to power.
Because fill us in, there have been lots of crimes that he's committed throughout his reign.
Well, absolutely. His crimes are very well documented and range from support of international terrorism, including to the IRA, to the public execution of dissidents at home, broadcast on state television, or even the killing of 1,200 opponents who were jailed at the Abu Salim prison, and then their bodies were covered in cement, so the families couldn't even get the bodies back of their loved ones to bury them properly.
And the charges this time, there seem to be a raft of them potentially, some of them involving allegations of rape and the use of this drug Viagra and all the rest, which some human rights organisations are now saying, well, we should be a bit more sceptical about all of this.
Well, I think we have to be extremely careful about the allegations that have been put out. In my opinion, the ICC can have a case if it brings together tangible evidence of Gaddafi's crimes in the conflict. It seemed rather odd to me that these allegations appeared first on the front page of a national newspaper in the UK before they even came to the knowledge of the ICC. And this whole case gets even more complicated as we now know that the rebels themselves committed just as many atrocities as Gaddafi forces. There is tangible evidence of that, of the rebels killing innocent civilians. NATO has, of course, also injured and indeed killed armed rebels and innocent civilians by mistake in friendly fire incidents. And also now Aisha Gaddafi, the colonel's only daughter, who is a lawyer by training, is also said to be putting a case together to take the French president, Nicolas Sarkozy, to the ICC, as it is believed that it is French missiles which not only killed Gaddafi's youngest son, Saif al-Arab, along with 3 of his grandchildren, but which also killed innocent civilians in Tripoli more recently. And you also have 2 top French lawyers hired by Gaddafi himself who are working on taking NATO to the ICC for its crimes during the conflict. So the case gets very complex indeed.
You've interviewed, is this right, Colonel Gaddafi in the past?
Absolutely.
I wondered if you asked him, or dared ask him, I don't know where the interview would have taken place, Tripoli, I guess, about allegations of atrocities?
I did ask him about his relationship with the West and in particular with Britain, and he was very prompt to highlight his very friendly relationship with Tony Blair, whom he described as a friend, and it's in fact Tony Blair who brought him in from the cold. And the great irony of it all is that the short period of détente with Libya was instigated by the West as it sold arms to Libya and tried to get hold of its vast energy supplies.
Nabila Ramdani, Arab specialist and journalist, speaking to The World Today's Tom Hagley.